Today is the 10-year anniversary that I've done this new show. January 15th, 2009, I did my very first episode of Maoist Rebel News talking about, what was it? Yeah, Joe the Plumber. You remember that guy? Joe Wurzelbacher, the guy who went up to Obama, started talking about how his tax break was going to kill the middle class, blah, blah, blah. And then he was completely misinformed on what it was and that it was actually going to help middle class people, small business owners. That guy, I did the story about him where Wurzelbacher was given a position to act as a journalist inside of Israel to report on the situation between Israel and Palestine. Now, why somebody with absolutely zero credentials and someone who's blatantly stupid would be allowed to do that? Yes, I know that I don't even have any credentials to be a journalist either, but I'm not a journalist for a major news network. And for the life of me, I can't remember what one it is he worked for. But I know Keith Olbermann made fun of him, so it must have been pretty serious. So, basically, he goes over there, and what's the first statement he makes? Oh, reporters are terrible. They're always trying to down soldiers, down American soldiers, down Israeli soldiers. Oh, I don't think journalists should even be allowed anywhere near warfare. I liked it better during the world wars, where you go to the theater and you see your troops up on the screen and you would cheer for them. In other words, when you had absolutely no idea what was going on. I mean, I don't know if he understood that's what he was saying. He was actually cheering on people not knowing what their military was doing or what the militaries of other countries were doing, particularly one that's as close to the United States as, say, Israel. It blew my mind that he was that much, I want to say asshole, but that's not really being an asshole. That's just being an idiot who's also stupid, but might very well believe or know that he's lying in order for a propaganda effort. I can't tell. Well, at the time, I just thought he was stupid. But I kind of know better now. I mean, it's 10 years. I mean, you learn a lot in 10 years. But that was my very first video. Sitting there with a stupid balaclava on and a red star cap. Just the regular green cap with the red star on it. And that's how this began. And in those past 10 years, I think I've done significantly better. You know, here it is. I am on Press TV, hopefully RT someday soon. And very possibly, now I've gotten a possible job offer, like an actual real paying job for a website, a news organization called Pure Walaya, which basically means pure resistance. Essentially, it's very similar to Press TV, but more geared toward anti-imperialism than, say, Press TV is. So this is essentially, it's an anti-imperialist news outlet. And, you know, there's some people ahead of me, people who have degrees and stuff, people who have professional experience. Of course, those guys are going to go before me. But it's looking good that I might get it. And that's what I'm really hoping for, because, you know, to actually get a real paying job in the news industry would be like a dream come true. Now, it wouldn't be much, like it wouldn't be something I could live off of, but it would be something that would supplement. In fact, it might even be enough, depending on how successful it is. I might be able to quit my gas station part-time job and be able to do this and write for Pure Walaya, full-time. So I have to wait and see what happens. I'm very hopeful that it's going to be good, because I talked to the guy who runs it, was positive about the work I'd done. He knows my stuff. You know, whatever. He added me on Facebook. I didn't add him, so he was kind of looking my way, etc. So that's like a big announcement that I kind of want to make, that I could be getting a real job in the news industry after 10 years of slugging it out on YouTube. And of course, you, my audience, know it's been a hell of a lot of slugging. Like, I can tell you that much. The amount of people who've attacked me, threatened me, doxed my family over the years has been simply incredible. Now, I know that if you think back, the first real feud that I ever had was with a YouTuber called Skeptical Heretic. And that's going back to 2011. That was a really long time ago. And I just remember what a complete clusterfuck that was. And I mostly blame myself for allowing it to happen because, frankly, it kind of really was my fault. Here's the thing. I made a video saying North Koreans do have cell phones. And that was the first Defend DPRK week. Now, that was the one that, really hit it off, that really started that whole thing. Okay, North Koreans do have cell phones. Here's them using the cell phones. Here's the name of the North Korean company that makes the cell phones, and here's the name of the Egyptian company that works with them. What do Ofcom or Oscom or something like that worked with the DPRK in order to get cell phone service to their people. So that's all I said. It was claimed they're not allowed to have cell phones. Well, here's them with cell phones. Of course, he took exception to that and went off about DPRK had killed 50 billion people, blah, 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 evil totalitarian regime, which, kind of really had nothing to do with the video. Just, they don't have cell phones. Yes, they do. Here's the proof. And someone didn't like that. And then it spiraled into a complete cesspool of personal attacks, which essentially I blame myself for because I was the one that let that happen. I shouldn't have engaged. I should have just said, they do have cell phones. It's not true that they're not allowed to have cell phones. Here's the proof. Goodbye. But, I had to get involved in it. I was younger, didn't have the knowledge of what it is that being on the internet is like. I wasn't aware of those things, like what it is and why, when these people start, you should just ignore them right away. The ZZs, the skeptical heretics, anarcho pack. A lot of these situations are done by people who have very narcissistic egos, and they're only fed by trying to start issues with other people. And unfortunately, being a dumbass, I fed into that. And you know what? I'll admit that I made a mistake. I'll admit that I made a lot of mistakes. And, it's been one hell of a journey this whole time. In the past, 10 years, I've written 14 books, 13 of which were on Marxism, which, I never thought that I would ever do that. I never thought that would be something that I would accomplish. I remember sitting down, writing the first book, debunking Trevor Luden's lies. Essentially, this Australian Trevor Luden, political commentator, all-around psychopath, said that here's the proof that Obama is a communist, and if anybody can prove that he's not a communist, he'll give them $1 million. Well, you can imagine how easy that was. So I wrote a book. It was like 94 pages, 95 pages, completely destroying his entire argument, flat, like it's lying on the floor, twitching in a pool of its own blood. His argument was that dead. Of course, to this day, I have not seen my $1 million, and I don't expect to see it anytime soon. But that was my first soiree into writing, and it was okay. It was very, very amateurish, as you would expect. Your first one didn't have a professional editor. Of course, it was going to be very amateurish. But nonetheless, I was happy with the way that it came out. And then from there, they went on to other books, to the now quasi-famous Politics and Economics in Fallout Society, or the political econ of Fallout Society. I can't remember which title I ended up actually going with. And that's the one that a ton of people loved because it educated them on Marxism in such a very simple, plain forward way. The spoonful of sugar that got the medicine to go down. But it's also the one I'm harassed about the most. A lot of the people, people who don't like me anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but would attack me for, hey, you wrote a book on Fallout. Yeah, I'm trying to educate people in Marxism. What are you doing calling people names on the internet? Whatever. People who don't like you aren't going to like you, and they're going to attack you no matter what you do. Like that old saying, haters could see me teleport into a national... Haters could see me teleport somewhere and then accuse me of not being able to afford a car, kind of thing. So, it's really very interesting to think back to, everything that I've done over the past decade, and that had I actually gone to school and studied writing or journalism or broadcasting or something, I would essentially be a veteran by now. I wouldn't qualify for a pension. Actually, I'd be halfway to a pension. But, I'd be a veteran reporter right now. And while at the time, the term citizen journalist didn't exist. That wasn't a term that existed back then. I considered myself an amateur reporter, which I think is a fair description. Now I would consider myself a citizen reporter, which would be a lot better. But I do prefer the term political commentator. That's the one that Press TV uses. And I think that's fair. I do commentate on the news. You don't like me, you don't listen to me, or just make fun of me. Doesn't matter. But then it gets me thinking about the future. Where can I go from here? What is there left for me to do besides get an actual job? In terms of being on YouTube, what could I actually accomplish? I think there are a few things left that I haven't done. I haven't reached 100,000 subscribers, although, frankly, I do, no ego, but I really do think I do deserve about 100,000 subscribers. And not only just 100,000 subscribers, but an actual 100,000 views a video. But, being a Marxist and being a third worldist, that's a very niche market. So it's never going to be that big. Okay, that's fine. This is the perspective that I give, and if I were to change it just for more views, that would make me a seller. It's going to be what it's going to be. And YouTube would probably end up censoring me if I got too big anyway, so I don't think it really matters. But I haven't made a documentary. I could do that. But the thing is, I don't know anything about making a documentary. I have no skills. I didn't go to film school or anything like that. So I would essentially not know what I was doing. So it would be a bigger toss-up. What would be the worst documentary ever made? Whatever it is I managed to pump out, or that documentary on Anita Sarkeesian that got made by Arias and the Anton LaVey looking guy. I can't remember his name. But either way, would it be is that bad? Which one of us would actually be worse at it? Mine wouldn't be as cringy, I know that. But it really does make me sit back and think about everything I've done for the past 10 years. And it just, like, there's stuff I want to talk about, but it would make me sound petty if I did, kind of thing. Like, I think about all the people who have come and gone, who've attacked me, who were also Marxists, at least allegedly. A lot of the people who used to insult me, whatever, saying that I'm not a real communist, who now aren't communists anymore. I said one time in a video long ago that I used to look at the communists, and they were all older than me, and I wanted to be a part of their community. And then one day I looked around, and I was the same age as them, and I was in the same community, and it felt good. And now here I am, older than most of them. I mean, some of the communists that are online today, I'm old enough to be their goddamn father. And I've just noticed that there's very few, kind of older communists. I mean, there's the exception of Paul Cockshott, of course. I can't remember his name right now. Wow, I look like an asshole. I can't remember their names. Either way, there's a few of them that are, like not even just older than me, but significantly older than me. But how many people really stick around as a Marxist that long, at least in the first world? I think I once had a group of friends, and we calculated that most people were a Marxist for about 6 months to 2 years, and that was it. And they were gone. A lot of them, once they graduate college, it's like, oh, well, I don't really want to be this against the system anymore now that I have to live the real world life of it. It's one thing to be a working class guy who gets by day to day and advocates socialism. Because it makes sense. But then you have these little privileged little rich kids, running around talking about, oh, screw the system. Look at me, I'm gender fluid now. And then as soon as they graduate from school, oh, I just want to live a normal life now. It happens. You can't force someone's heart and soul into something if it just isn't there. You're asking something that just can't be done. But yeah, it's just kind of reflecting back on everything that I've done, and like everything in life, you really think about all the mistakes that you made, the things that you could have done better, all the situations that you didn't handle properly, like that. And I regret a lot of them. I blame that on having a quick temper. I mean, I have a short temper. I don't deny that. That's another character flaw I'll admit to. And I just, you think about what you really could have done better. And you know what? I would think about some of the people that we've lost over the years. And I've lost some friends who were communists, who were part of the community, who ended up dying. Comrade Marty Rifles. I'm not sure how many people are going to remember him, but he was around, a big IRA supporter, Jucheist, and he died under mysterious circumstances. I miss him sometimes. Then there was a really good. There was a really good friend of mine whose name I'm not going to use because his family doesn't want him to be talked about. They don't want his death to be public. That's fine. I'll respect that. But he was a friend of mine, and he was a friend of a lot of other people, and he died of a heroin overdose. He had struggled with addiction for a long time, and eventually, it seems like it just caught up with him, and we lost him. And, one of the worst ones was the loss of John Doe. It was just, more than a year ago that John Doe died. And he had committed suicide, I knew he was having troubles. I spoke to him personally. He was a friend of mine. But, you say you didn't see it coming, and then it happens. And that's the same with, basically everybody who commits suicide, sooner or later. You never really prepared for when one of your friends dies. And so there's been a loss of, some good people over the years. People that really fought the good fight. Marty Rifles was an investigative reporter, like a real one. He was going out and doing that, and that's part of why I think his death was suspicious. John Doe was a fairly big union activist in Japan, and he spent a lot of time and a lot of effort trying to organize workers in the various jobs that he had. And these were people that I'd like to tell you what the friend who died of a heroin overdose did, but his family asked that people not talk about it. But suffice to say, yeah, I've lost a fair amount of friends over the years from terrible circumstances, heroin overdose, suicide, and Marty Rifle's death, kind of suspicious. His mother, or at least members of his family, suspect that it might have been murder. I mean, I don't know. Well, sorry about that. My camera records at 4K and it cuts off after a half an hour. I recorded 2 videos before this, so that's why that cut off. Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, we've lost some people over the years, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who've died that I never knew, that I never even heard about. But this is the community. When you have an ideology that comes from the marginalized sections of society, pardon me, that's the kind of thing that's going to happen. You're going to have the people who are suffering the ill effects of capitalism, as it were. But I've made this depressing enough. Let's try to talk about something more positive. For the immediate future, anyway, I don't have any particular plans of anything that I want to do. I've already bumped things up by getting that subscription to Rupley, and then I'm giving you those additional videos every day, news footage, often interviews from people in other countries with the English subtitles. So getting you stuff that you might not have otherwise been able to see, at least trying to genuinely make this whole thing better. And I don't know how I can expand this program anymore. I mean, could spend more money on equipment, which I'm already in a massive amount of debt for. But, I mean, would that really make that much of a difference? I mean, I think the limitation here is manpower. I'm only one guy, and I don't have the money to hire someone else to contribute to all of this in order to do more. So I think barring a larger income, say I got more views. I mean, I would rather get more views and get money that way than Patreon donations, because that would essentially, in the end, probably give me more, and I would have a greater exposure. But it's going to be what it's going to be. I mean, hey, if you haven't signed up for a Patreon donation yet, I would encourage you to do so. I mean, I have plans starting as little as $1 a month. If everybody who watched these videos, say 1,000 views every video, if every one of those people donated $1, I'd be in an amazingly good position. I'd eventually be able to plan a trip to the DPRK and record videos there. But let's be honest, that's probably not going to happen. Even some people have said, create a GoFundMe to send me to North Korea to record videos. But you know what? Not enough people are going to be able to put money into that, because some of them are really expensive trips. I mean, the DPRK in general is an expensive place to visit. So it's not like it's the fault of any particular company or anything. That's just the way it is. But to be perfectly honest, I don't really have any plans for this in the future. I plan to at least keep doing what I'm doing in hope that it will take off. I mean, I've already put 10 years into it. If it was going to take off in any major way, it probably would have done so by now. So, I don't know. I am happy doing it. I am glad to do this, that if I'm not, working as a cashier at a gas station, then I'm doing this. And, obviously I'd rather do this than be employed, but you know what I mean. I love doing this. This is what I kind of want to do for a living, I want this to be a career, but it's never going to pick up to the point where it'll be a career. And, that's okay. I'm fine with that. I know that's the way it is. This is a very niche audience that it's not going to take off into a really big way. That's fine. It's going to be what it's going to be, and I don't have any intention of selling out, which is why I hope I get the spot with Pure Walaya. That way I can get a decent, hopefully a decent income from there. It won't be enough to live off of, but it might be close enough to supplement something else. But, who knows? Agreements still have to be reached. I still have to actually get the job. It looks good, but there's people ahead of me that have more education, etc. than I do. So I think really the only thing left to say is thank you. Thank you to everybody who watches this program, everybody who rates, comments, subscribes, and shares on social media. Without an audience, I would not be doing this. Because if nobody watched it, there would be no point. So, you having an audience is what really keeps me going. And sometimes I can be pretty low. There are days that I really, really want to quit. largely because of harassment that I get from other people, usually over stupid, petty shit. But it is you, the viewers, that makes this worthwhile, that makes this something that I want to continue doing. So I do want to thank you. And a special big thank you to anybody who's been watching for all 10 years. And of course, I want to give 2 special thanks. One of them is to Redneck D, which is the guy who, after a little while after I started doing this, he started making videos on my channel as well. His name was Redneck D. You know, he did spots here and there, and I want to thank him. You know, he wasn't around for very long, but his heart and soul was there while he was doing it. And I want to thank Nightcrow Red. You know, someone else who had contributed for a little while, even though he was a Trotskyist and he was a member of the CPUSA. I don't really know how that worked, but it did. And he was there for a while, and he made his contribution just as Redneck D did. The only people that were consistently here, and the only people that were ever actually here with me doing this program. So I want to give a special thanks to them. And frankly, one last special thanks, and that would be to SMG John, because it's been his friendship and his expertise that really allowed me to kick things up in production value. Like, instead of it being like, you know, the thing I was doing, and then it suddenly got better, and then it's been steadily, the technology and the production value has been going up. That's all on him. That's him that showed me how to do stuff. Him telling me what hardware to buy, what software to get, and then showing me how to do that, because he had all that kind of knowledge. So you, SMG John, you know, thank you very much. This is a lot of this has been dependent on you, especially the last, say, 3 years. So say the last 3 years, probably a large portion of the increasing of quality has been thanks to you. So, thank you. And to everybody else, I just want to thank you for watching all this time. And if you haven't made a Patreon donation yet, I would ask that you do. Maybe just, you know, go over and donate $5 a month. I mean, that's pocket change. It's nothing, but every one of those combined would help me continue to do the work that I do here. So, before I go, I just want to say thank you to everyone for watching. I really appreciate you doing it, and fare thee well. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.